The arrival of Major Carlson. The Oval Office had seen countless historic moments, from peace treaties to declarations of war, but today, something different was unfolding, something that could rewrite history itself. The room was bathed in the amber glow of the afternoon sun, casting long shadows across the regal furnishings. Behind the iconic resolute desk sat former President Donald Trump, his expression more serious than usual. Papers were scattered across the desk, but he barely glanced at them. His mind was elsewhere. The day had begun normally enough, a meeting with advisors, a brief chat with his security team, until an urgent message disrupted the routine. A high-ranking Air Force pilot was on his way to meet him with a matter of national security. The phrasing was ominous, even by White House standards. Trump wasn't a man easily shaken. He had faced fierce political opponents, global leaders, and scandals that would have sunk lesser men. But this was different. There was a weight in the air, a tension that even he couldn't ignore. The door opened, and in walked Major David Carlson, tall, broad-shouldered, his Air Force uniform immaculate yet worn with the scars of service. His face, lined not by age but by the burdens of what he had seen, betrayed the seriousness of his visit. He wasn't here for a routine debriefing. Mr. President, Carlson said, standing at rigid attention. Major David Carlson, United States Air Force. Trump studied him for a moment, leaning back in his chair. Major Carlson, what brings you here personally? Must be pretty important. Carlson's voice was steady, but there was an underlying tension. Sir, what I'm about to tell you is classified beyond top secret. It involves an event that was never officially recorded, a mission that changed everything we thought we knew about the skies and what's out there. Trump raised an eyebrow, intrigued. He leaned forward slightly. All right, Major. You've got my attention. Go on. Carlson took a deep breath, his voice low but unwavering. Sir, 2 years ago, my squadron was deployed on a reconnaissance mission near the Arctic Circle. It was supposed to be routine. Monitor Russian airspace, gather intel, come home. We expected a quiet night. What we got was anything but. Trump listened intently, his eyes narrowing. Carlson continued. We encountered an object, sir. Not Russian, not Chinese, and definitely not one of ours. It moved faster than anything known to man, Mach 20, completely silent, no heat signature, no exhaust. It wasn't just fast, it was intelligent. It mirrored our movements, like it was studying us. And then, just as fast as it appeared, it shot straight up into the stratosphere and vanished. We never reported it. Trump's eyes widened, but he didn't interrupt. Carlson pressed on. We didn't report it because the Pentagon classified it as a radar anomaly. But I know what I saw, sir. And now, it's back. The return of the unknown. The weight of Carlson's words filled the room, thick and heavy like a storm cloud. For a moment, Trump said nothing, his mind racing through the possibilities. He wasn't a man who liked being left in the dark, especially not about something that could threaten the country. It's back. You're sure? Trump's voice was low, steady. Yes, sir. Last week, a surveillance satellite picked up the same object hovering over an Air Force base in Nevada. It was stationary for 5 minutes before it disappeared again. It wasn't a malfunction. It wanted us to see it. Trump's eyes narrowed. And you're telling me the Pentagon didn't brief me on this? No, sir. The data was flagged as corrupted and buried in classified logs. I only found it because I knew what to look for. Carlson hesitated. Sir, it's heading toward Washington. The room fell into a suffocating silence. Even the faint hum of the White House air conditioning seemed to disappear. Trump leaned back in his chair, exhaling slowly. He wasn't scared, not yet, but this wasn't a political battle he could outmaneuver with tweets and rallies. This was something else. How long do we have? He asked finally. 12 hours. Maybe less. Trump stood up, his voice regaining its commanding edge. Get me the Pentagon. I want the Secretary of Defense, the Joint Chiefs, and anyone who can track this thing. Now. Carlson nodded sharply and turned to leave. Major, Trump said, stopping him at the door. Carlson turned back. You did the right thing coming here, Trump said, his voice low but firm. We're not going to let this thing get a second chance to surprise us. Carlson nodded again, his expression unreadable, and left the room. Trump stared after him for a moment before turning to the window. The sun was setting, casting long shadows over the White House lawn. He wondered, for the first time in a long time, if tomorrow's sun would rise on a world that still belonged to humanity. The shadow operation begins. As the door shut behind Major Carlson, Trump's mind raced. He wasn't a man who trusted easily. Decades in business and politics had made sure of that. But something about Carlson's unwavering tone, the way his voice didn't so much as tremble, told him this was no exaggeration. The Pentagon had kept secrets from him before, but this, an object that defied the laws of physics, returning to the Capitol after 2 years in hiding. That wasn't just a cover-up. It was betrayal. He picked up the secure phone on his desk, his voice low and controlled. "Get me the Secretary of Defense. Now." Within minutes, the West Wing buzzed with activity. Advisors filed in, murmurs spreading like wildfire. The president was holding an emergency meeting, and no one knew why. Trump stood by the window, watching the sun dip behind the Washington Monument, his reflection staring back at him from the glass. He wasn't a man to dwell on fear, but tonight, fear felt like a shadow he couldn't shake. The door burst open again. General Mark Reynolds, head of U.S. Strategic Command, entered alongside the Secretary of Defense, Karen Matthews. Both looked pale, as if they already knew what this was about. "Mr. President," Matthews began, her voice hesitant. "We've reviewed Major Carlson's report. The data is unsettling." Reynolds stepped forward. "Sir, we're tracking the object. It's moving faster than anything we've ever seen, atmospheric speeds beyond Mach 20. It's defying gravity, physics, everything we understand." Trump's voice cut through the room like a blade. "What is it?" Reynolds hesitated. "We don't know, sir. But it's coming straight for us. A secret from the skies." The room erupted in controlled chaos. Aides scrambled, phones rang, classified files appeared from nowhere, but Trump didn't flinch. He turned to Carlson, who had quietly returned, standing near the doorway like a silent sentinel. "Major," Trump said, his voice low, "I want to know what you're not telling me. What happened that night in the Arctic?" Carlson's face tightened. He glanced at Reynolds and Matthews before speaking. "Sir, there's more to the story," Carlson admitted. "When the object vanished, it didn't just disappear. It communicated." The room fell deathly silent. "Communicated," Trump repeated slowly, his voice barely above a whisper. Carlson nodded, his voice steady. "We heard it over the comms. A single word, over and over." Trump stared at him, waiting. "It said, observe." The room went cold. Even the hum of the electronics felt distant now. "The countdown begins." The Pentagon's war room lit up with satellite feeds, radar pings, and live data streaming in from around the world. Every eye was on the screen, and on the dot, moving faster than any plane or missile ever built. It wasn't just coming, it was accelerating. "ETA?" Trump asked, voice sharp. 4 hours, sir," Reynolds responded grimly. "At this speed, it'll be directly over Washington by midnight." Trump's jaw clenched. "Do we have a way to stop it?" Reynolds hesitated. "Sir, if it's what Carlson says it is, our missiles won't even scratch it." Trump turned to Carlson. "Major, what do you think? You've seen it up close." Carlson took a breath. "Sir, I don't think it's here to attack." Trump's eyes narrowed. "Then why is it coming back?" Carlson's voice was low but sure. "Because it's finished observing." Midnight over Washington. The clock ticked closer to midnight. The skies above D.C. were clear, eerily so. Fighter jets circled high, radar systems scanned non-stop, and anti-air defenses stood ready. But everyone in the room knew none of it would matter. Then, it happened. "Sir, we've got visual," an Air Force technician shouted from the console. On the screen, a grainy black and white image appeared. At first, it looked like a star, but it moved, faster and faster, until it filled the frame. It wasn't a craft. It wasn't a plane. It was something else. A shifting, shimmering mass, pulsating with light and energy, almost alive. "It's not solid," Matthews whispered. "It's energy." And then, it stopped. Dead still, hovering over the White House. The message. The room held its breath. "Mr. President," Carlson said softly, "it's waiting." "For what?" Trump asked, though he already suspected the answer. "For you," Carlson replied. A beat of silence passed. Then Trump nodded, squaring his shoulders. "Patch me through. I want to talk to it." Technicians scrambled, unsure how to make contact with something that defied all logic. But before they could, the room filled with sound, not from the speakers but from everywhere at once. A voice. Calm, clear, familiar. Mr. President, it said. It was Trump's own voice. The revelation. The room froze. Trump's eyes widened. The voice wasn't a recording, it was him. But it wasn't. We have watched, the voice continued, smooth and even. We have learned. Your world stands on the edge of its own destruction, by your hand. Trump stared at the screen. Who are you? We are beyond names. We are beyond time. We are what comes after. After what? Trump asked. The voice paused. Then it answered, softly. After you. The choice. The room was deathly silent. What do you want? Trump demanded, his voice steady despite the tremor in his chest. To give you a choice, the voice said. Lead your people to unity, or we will lead them ourselves. Trump's expression hardened. Is that a threat? No, the voice replied. It is a promise. A new dawn. The room waited for Trump's response. He stared at the screen, at the shimmering shape in the sky, his mind racing. You think you can do better than me? He asked, voice low and dangerous. The voice didn't answer. It didn't need to. Trump exhaled sharply, his decision made. Tell the world the truth, he said to his advisors. No more cover-ups. No more lies. If they're watching, we'll show them what humanity's made of. The room buzzed with movement, but Carlson stayed still, watching Trump. You think they'll leave if we unite? He asked quietly. Trump didn't look at him. No, he said. But they'll know we're not afraid. Above the White House, the shimmering object pulsed once more, and vanished. The skies were empty again. But the world would never be the same.